This is Lindsay Says, because somebody has to say it. I never thought I would say that. Hi, besties. Welcome to Lindsay Says, because somebody has to say it. If you love Bravo, drama, pettiness, and opinions that are occasionally correct, you are in the right place. If it happened on Bravo, I have something to say about it. Let's get messy. In this intro podcast, I'm going to tell you how I got to where I am, a little bit about myself, a little bit about my life, and then a breakdown of what the podcast is going to be and my goals. I'm so excited because I feel like I found my group of people on TikTok and Instagram. I've always loved Bravo. I started watching when I was like 16, 17. Nobody else watched like I did. Like I would convince my sister and my friends and my roommates to watch with me, but nobody was connecting like I did. And I never stopped watching. I think I started watching for sure Rachel Zoe, Millionaire Matchmaker, and was watching, and Vicky Gunvalson just popped up, was doing a keg stand. That's the first time I ever remember watching Housewives. I did not watch like the first 2 seasons, but I got hooked. I got hooked from that lady. And I never stopped. For a while, I was like, you know what? Nobody else watches this and it's taking up a lot of my time. Should I just stop? And there's just no way. I'm addicted. A true Bravoholic. I used to work a good old 9 to 5 at an automotive company. I live in Michigan. Big thing around here is cars. And I worked in a building of all mostly men. Okay. It was not fun. And I sat at a desk. I worked for 2 directors at this company, and I was essentially just their right-hand person. And I sat at a desk all day waiting for them to tell me what they wanted me to do. It could even be like, go wash their car, go get their kid's car an oil change. I was in prison. Okay. I would get up to go to the bathroom. I would get there at 7. Okay. And I wouldn't go to the bathroom until 1 o'clock. And if my boss saw me going to the bathroom, he'd be like, working hard, I see. Like the conditions were awful. But the one good thing about this job is sometimes there was a lot of downtime, and I would sit there, or even if there wasn't downtime, I would just be working on my Excel sheet of like the HR and like the ins and the outs of who's coming in the company and leaving. I was in charge of way too much for how little I was paid. I would sit there and I would listen to podcast after podcast after podcast, and I so badly wanted that to be my future. Or I would scroll social media and just wish that I was doing something like that, an influencer in some way. And I just thought that it was like this idea that could never happen. But here we are. Listen to Stassi Schroeder. I mean, I was just such a Stassi fan, still a Stassi fan, but like huge back then. And I would just be like, she has the dream life. Just gets to say what her thoughts are on a podcast all day. And I just wanted that to be me. But I guess in the end, it was accidentally like hardcore studying for this, because I know how a podcast works, ins and outs. I've listened to them all. My favorites were Straight Up with Stassi, Chicks in the Office. I loved Danny Pellegrino. I don't listen to any Bravo creators or really watch any Bravo creators anymore because I want it to be my individual thoughts, but I still love him. I listened to Watch What Crappens a little bit. Lots of Bachelor podcasts when I used to be super into that. I feel like I'm missing somebody big. It was mainly Chicks in the Office and Stassi. Believe it or not, COVID was one of the worst times in my life, but it's like kind of what brought me to this point. I met my husband before COVID happened. Okay. Found the right guy finally. And then I'm, miserable at my job, but loving my life. And COVID happens, and it's a blessing and a curse, because guess what? I got furloughed immediately. March 14th, furloughed. Insane. And I was engaged to my husband then. It was a scary time. And guess what? We were supposed to get married July 25th, 2020. And we still did, but we had to like minimize our wedding and getting married on the beach where I grew up going since I was 2 years old in Glen Arbor, Michigan. But yeah, COVID was a hard time, but it definitely brought me to where we are today, because I no longer worked at the hellhole, okay? Hellhole. And it brought me to this point and made me so much happier, because COVID is what brought me into therapy. I started having panic attacks. Okay, maybe we'll get into that on another time. But I started therapy, and My therapist is literally why we are here today, because she has pushed me in the right direction of my life and made me remove people from my life who aren't good for me or set boundaries with people in my life. Told me to do this, told me to post on social media and just not care about what anybody thought. And I did exactly that. But also, the same week that she told me to start posting, I saw like the first psychic of my entire life, and they told me, you know what you're supposed to do. Just do it. And I was like, okay, I'm hearing the same thing from both of them. I'm just going to do it. And it ended up working. But at first, it was definitely like low views. Wasn't only doing Bravo. People were making fun of me. But guess what? People will make fun of you, but you will quickly learn who your real friends are, and the snakes come out of the grass. It's a great, quick way of weeding out the BS. But I started therapy and posting on TikTok when I had my son Jackson. I was a stay-at-home mom. I'm still a stay-at-home mom. I do that on top of all of this. So Bravo, TikTok, stay-at-home mom, those are my jobs. And I couldn't ask for anything else, honestly. But I originally started doing this because I wanted to remain being a stay-at-home mom, but I wanted to stay not working when my kids went to school eventually. And that was the goal here. But now this is like just my obsession and what I love to do. Truly a passion. But I don't know if my therapist will ever end up listening to this, but she is the reason we are here. I dedicate all of this to her. This equipment, she sent this to me. She sent me headphones, a light, a clicker thing. Like, she sent me everything. She set me up in life. I owe her everything. Also, fun fact, my therapist is a huge Bravo fan. At the beginning of all of our therapy sessions, we just chat about Bravo. I just highly recommend everyone get a therapist that you love, and they will point you in the right direction. There are good therapists out there. I recommend therapy to everyone. Okay, this is not like a motivational podcast or like a therapy podcast or like a manifestation podcast that motivates somebody, pushes somebody to go to therapy, pushes somebody to stop doing that desk job, push somebody to do what they want to do. I mean, we are living on a floating rock. Okay? Who gives a crap what anybody thinks or what anybody says about you? Truly. I think it all ended up working because I try to always be as authentic as I possibly can be and share my actual thoughts and just genuinely dig into not giving a crap what anybody thinks. Anybody. I also once heard somebody say that if somebody has something that you want, that means that it's possible. Okay, now that I've ended my motivational speech and how I got here, I want to get to the breakdown of what this podcast is going to look like. I am planning on recording every single Friday and posting every single Monday, talking about what happened throughout that week. So typically, if it happens on the weekend, it will end up being the following podcast. But if something huge happens, okay, like I'm gonna pick up the mic. We're gonna talk about it. I will add it to that podcast, but it has to be huge. I'll start it off with the beginning, a little life update, my thoughts. Um, just what's going on with me. I'm a stay-at-home mom. Craziness. Right now we're potty training. The holidays just ended. I do not recommend potty training during the holidays because the holidays are insane already with a 3-year-old and a 1-year-old. But anyways, and then I'll have a section called Say Less, Spill More, where we'll talk about everything recent Bravo gossip, such as Mary Cosby's documentary, the fact that I was in it and I had no idea that I was going to be in it. And so many other creators are so mad. And guess what? I was excited. They're like, oh my gosh, don't put me in there without my permission. I don't care. I'm in it. Did I get paid? No. Was I told? No. Did I say something nice about Mary? Yeah. So maybe that's why I don't care. But yeah, we would be talking about all of that, which I did make posts on it. So if you want to hear my thoughts, go look at those. The next segment will be called the Bravoholic Breakdown, which will be all of my hot takes on the episodes that week. Every single week, I will be making posts, okay, on TikTok and Instagram, but I'm still going to like rehash it here. But this is fun because I have so many other posts or so many other thoughts than what I do post. I just can't post all of it. So here I can tell you my itty bitty teeny tiny thoughts. It's going to be great. I'm so excited. I'm gonna have a section here and there where I say, can I be petty for a second? I want to be petty. I want to say like, oh my God, I hated that outfit. Or like, can we talk about how Emily Simpson is just like the worst right now or something like that. Then I'm going to have a little segment called In the Comments, where I talk about my favorite comments that I received that week, whether they're mean or funny. We're just going to talk about comments on my social media. Then a segment called Listener Tea or Questions. Here and there, I'll get DMs of tea, good tea, and people will say I can share it, but it's just not big enough for me to make a post about it. So we can talk about it here, and I will leave you anonymous. Go into those DMs, tell me something that you know. I'm going to say it as a rumor, okay? Because I'm not just going to say it's fact, but we can talk about it here. All the rumors, the nastiness. If you have any questions for me, if it's a good question, I'll bring it here. Let's talk about it. If you have questions about the show, my opinions on the show, just about me, you have something to say that you want me to bring to the show, you have some advice on how you want me to change this thing because I'm new to this, tell me about it. Then I want to have a segment where here and there I will have my husband, Tori, on, if you've seen him on my socials. I call him the Bravoholic. He also has a handle that says Tori the Bravoholic. If you see some guy, the only straight guy in my comments, that's my husband. Sometimes somebody will be mean, which I used to care about it, but I don't anymore. But he will tell them what he thinks here and there. So if you see that, that's my husband. And then, so we'll have him on here and there to share his thoughts, the straight man perspective. Not that we really want it that often, but maybe sometimes we do. And then eventually, I want to do interviews with people, from Bravo celebrities, who you see on the show, to people on the side like Avi, or just people that aren't even on the show that might know something. Like I was thinking like Mary Cosby's ex-husband, Dana. People like that. I want to dig in further. I want to know the truth. Even if it's a short little segment. Avi, what happened? I want to hear it from him. So yeah, hopefully it gets to that point. I'm excited. And then maybe here and there I'll have a friend on so I can chat with them. Mostly it's just going to be me. Just going to be me and you chatting it up. I'm excited to talk about the tiny details, just the tiny thoughts that I have throughout the week that I never post about. I'm still going to be posting on all of my socials as usual. If you have any thoughts, requests for any segments, something that you want to hear, let me know. I try to always check all of my DMs. Sometimes it becomes a lot because I am a stay-at-home mom of two cuckoos, two boys, wild boys that are starting to wrestle each other. But I'll try to respond. I'll try to read at least. And follow me on my podcast account on both socials. It's at Lindsay Says on TikTok and Instagram. I have a YouTube account where I will post these videos. It's The Bravoholic. Just search at The Bravoholic. Then on TikTok, I also am at The Bravoholic. And on Instagram, at the.bravoholic. Thank you so much for listening to this. This is my first shot at this, just an intro. Okay, I think I've said enough. If you liked what you heard, please rate, review, subscribe, follow, all the things. And that's what Lindsay says.